Welcome to another edition of the Wonderbury Podcast.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Dave.
And you can find us online at wonderbury.com.
You can find me online at Open Darkwing.
You can find me at, I'm still poking around Mastodon, sort of.
I have a lot to say about that. Oh, Brian. Welcome to 2023.
Yeah.
I know the listeners heard us on January 1st, but this is the first time we've talked in the new year.
Yeah.
I have 2 words to say about the new year.
Yeah.
Fuck fireworks.
You say that about every holiday, though.
Yeah. Because fireworks are terrible.
Yeah.
But, whatever, I guess.
I think it's a better use for our explosives than, the other use.
Yeah, well, when you've heard enough of the other use, the fireworks use tends to make you a little jittery. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And it's not so much like I don't dive for cover anymore, but like it triggers every ounce of fight or flight, and just it just makes me insanely nervous. I can't focus on stuff. I can't sleep very well. I'm constantly getting up to check to make sure everyone's okay. Like it's kind of, it's just not fun. It's not nearly as bad as it used to be. I used to just like huddle up and just shake uncontrollably, but now it can get that bad, but not usually.
Yeah.
I figure out how to condition myself to start thinking about it.
Yeah, just get prepared for it.
Yeah.
Did you make it through, though?
Yeah, I made it through. I didn't sleep very much. Like I said, I was up checking on everybody all night long, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we did go to my dad's house for a joint Christmas and New Year's thing on New Year's Eve, and it was really nice. Dad cooked some really good meat, and they made food, and then we had Christmas thing, and it was a lot of fun. It was really relaxing.
Nice. Yeah, we went down to my family's big extended family gathering on New Year's Eve.
Oh, nice. So you did end up traveling during the holiday time.
Yeah, just a little bit.
You ended up traveling.
Yeah. Tried not
I knew
to.
it wasn't going to last throughout the whole thing. You got kid.
Yeah. He's like, no, I got to go see the uncles. And I was like, God dang it. But, yeah, New Year's Eve, Christy wasn't feeling good, so she had talked to the doctor like the day before, and she had a prescription waiting at the pharmacy in Jonesville, so I got up first thing, went into the pharmacy, got her prescription picked up, and I was coming down US 12, I hear pa-tong. It's like, oh, what was that? And I turned the radio down in the truck, and bang, 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 pa-ting, pa-ting.
Oh, no.
And the whole front end starts shaking, the steering wheel starts shaking real bad.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
I'm going like 60 miles an hour, and I'm just like, oh, just let off the gas and come off to the side of the road. Like, I pull all the way off the road. And like, as soon as I get stopped, like, I feel the right front brake, like the wheel just locked up. It's like, oh man. So I get out and I look at it, and I had no idea what actually happened, but it had sheared off 3 of the lug studs. And so I only had two lug nuts on, but not just that, the studs that the nuts go on were left.
Yeah.
And the 2 that were left were like wobbly in the hub. So the wheel damn near came off. And I like just stopped just in time because they were close. They were close to coming out. So
Yikes.
luckily I had State Farm. So I called State Farm, said, hey, I need a tow. They towed it back to the house. And yeah, we went down, did our New Year's Eve thing, came home and did New Year's Eve here with the kid and watched the ball drop and stuff.
Nice.
And then yeah, Sunday I went out and I tearing it apart. It's like, okay, I might as well tear it apart and see what I need, see what I gotta do. So go out and I'm like, okay, I don't got the wheel off. That was a bit of fiasco. Like getting the other two lug nuts off because they weren't like fully come apart, but there wasn't anything holding the stud in anymore. So I couldn't like when a screw is stripped, like that's what the lug nut was doing. So it was just spinning. So I had to like wedge a pry bar in behind the wheel against the lug stud to hold it so I could use my impact to take the lug nut off of what was left of the stud. Get it off. I was like, oh crap. Gotta take the hub off. Hub's shot. Brake rotor's shot. Pads are shot. Like everything had just gotten wobbly and ripped everything apart in there. So figured out the bolts on the back of the hub are a 12-point head. Now, I've worked on stuff my whole life. I grew up farming with my grandparents and worked on stuff like in the field as a kid and went on to be a mechanic. I've worked on all number of cars, all number of them. I've never in my life seen a freaking 12-point head of bolt before.
Yeah.
And previously, I had taken all of my 12-point sockets, like my half-inch drive 12-point sockets, and put them in my miscellaneous drawer because I was like, I've never seen a 12-point bolt. I'm never going to use these. What do I need these for? So they had just been in my miscellaneous drawer. I got digging in there. It's like, okay, it needs a 9/16. That's what it says on the internets. Can't find my 9/16. I'm like, what in the hell? Like, there should be one. Like, there's a spot for one in this thing. And I realize, do you remember during the summer when the ball joint came apart on my Liberty?
Yeah.
So while I was working on that, I broke my clamp for my ball joint press. Like, I broke the handle on it. So I had taken a socket and welded it onto the end of the clamp so I could just use my impact to run the clamp. And it happened to be 9/16. So the one socket I needed, I had welded onto a clamp already. So I had to go get a socket. And ended up having to get another socket for the hub. But anyways, and then Monday got all the parts. Went to AutoZone like first thing in the morning, got all the parts, come home, I get everything all tore apart, putting everything together, and open the box for the hub. And the hub in there is massive. Like, it's huge, and it has stuff on it that my old one doesn't have. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't right. So I have to take that back. I'm like, hey, you got the wrong one in the box. And I'm going into Hillsdale at this point to get the parts. She's like, yeah, that's weird. That's wrong. We don't have any more. Like, oh, crap. All right. What do I do? She's like, let me look. Turns out Coldwater had one. So I turn around, drive from Hillsdale to Coldwater, go get the part, get home. And by the time I get home, it's like storming, raining. So finally, later, it got it all put back together. Everything went back together fine. So yeah, pretty hectic.
Yeah, sounds like it.
That's a good truck though. It runs
That's
good.
good.
You know, drives good, body's in pretty decent shape. Overall, I give it 3 out of 4 wheels.
3 out of good old 3 out of 4 wheels.
Yep.
That's high praise.
I think the worst thing was like realizing that socket just happened to be the one that I'd welded onto that clamp. Because there's probably, when I welded it onto the clamp, there was probably 2 thoughts. One was, I'll never use a fucking 12-point socket. And 2 was, if I ever need a 12-point socket, it's never going to be a fucking imperial measurement. I'll keep the metrics and I'll use the imperial one. Sure enough.
That honestly, it still annoys me to this day, is that we have the metric and the imperial system that we have to interchange between.
Well, if you work on a car, anything after like 2000 is going to be pretty much all metric.
As it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm a massive fan of just pulling off that Band-Aid and switching this to the metric system.
Yeah.
I am completely in favor of pulling that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, just use it for yourself. Raise your kid on it. That's what I'm doing.
Well, I haven't started teaching her metric measurement stuff yet. I've been slowly teaching her how to understand the difference between Fahrenheit and Celsius in like estimations. So, because like Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit is, you take the temperature and kind of think of it as a percentage scale of how it feels for us. So like, 100% is a little too hot. So 100 degrees is a little too hot. 0 is way cold, 0% feeling. About 60, 70% is where you're feeling like right in that sweet spot. There's that sweet spot of 60 to 80 or whatever. And then Celsius is the exact same thing, except that you're water.
Yeah.
Because 0 Celsius is freezing, 100 Celsius is boiling. So it's the same idea, except you're water.
Yep. I was reading about like how all the metric system compares to that. And the calorie is based off of raising 1 cubic centimeter of water 1 degree.
Yeah, the thing I like about, and like origins aside, the working in base 10 math, the metric system is just so much easier, especially for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because trying to figure out inches to feet, feet to yards, or feet to miles, like it's very disjointed. Whereas the metric system is it's a very simple base system that is standardized and uniformed, and I like that side of my brain really likes it. But I don't know.
It's way better than socket, like fractions.
Yeah.
So think about what's bigger, 3/8 or 9/16.
Well, 9/16 would be bigger.
Yeah. Okay. What's bigger, 8 millimeter or 12 millimeter?
Oh, 12 millimeter.
Oh yeah. Which one did you process faster?
Oh yeah, the 12 millimeter. That's a bigger number. Yeah. I had to do the quick maths on the other two.
Yeah, they're about the same sizes, Dave. Like roundabouts.
Oh, I know. I know.
Maybe it's
or
9
you
millimeter.
just
Maybe
do
10.
what I
don't know.
did. I mean, my solution was simple. I just bought one of those gator head ones that just fits everything.
Oh, those are terrible. Yeah, you want to ruin every bolt you touch. That's a good socket to use.
I think my mom gifted me one of those years ago. It's like, this thing is terrible.
Yeah.
Even me, who doesn't do anything or hardly anything with tools, although I've been doing more and more lately. But if it requires more than 10 minutes on YouTube, I pretty much call someone. I now have a handyman guy I call. I either call him, and because he used to work with the wife, and before he quit his job to start his own kind of construction handyman fix it thing. If so I can call him, he'll come over and evaluate, and he kind of knows where my skill level is, which is about 4 on a 1 to 10 scale of do-it-yourselfist. And so he'll evaluate whether it's something that he thinks I can handle fairly easily, or if it's something that he should just kind of step in and be like, you probably need some help with this. So he's really good at evaluating that, but he'll come over and he'll take a look, and he'll let me know either exactly what I need to do or give me a time frame of when he can come do it. Because there's some stuff like I probably have the knowledge of, but being a bigger guy, it's going to be very difficult. Like swapping out the fan upstairs bathroom, the shower fan.
Yeah.
Like I have all of the knowledge of how to do that. Climbing up into the crawl area above, up in like our attic, which is kind of, it's not going to be easy for someone like me. It's just not.
Yeah.
So we ended up paying him to do it, and I don't mind helping him, paying him to do it. It's simple. Plus, I have the knowledge and the happiness that I am contributing to small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, like our dining room was sagging, so he came down, took a look at the floor joists, showed me where to put wood up and those little post things that you kind of crank on to extend out, or one of those things. He told me where to put the two of them, how to set it up, and I went and did it. And he didn't charge for that because that's something I could easily do. So
you just needed the
I just didn't know where to put it. Like you can, because you can watch videos all you want and they'll give a great generic, this is how you do it. But the nuance of being able to look at a full situation and know exactly where to place things, that comes from doing it for a while and experience.
Yeah.
Which is the one thing I was lacking.
Yeah. It makes a world of difference doing stuff.
But, on the flip side, it's not a terrible thing to have a guy that you can call and he'll come help you out.
Mm-hmm. That's what I need. I need like a home handyman.
Yeah, I just got one because I don't have the knowledge.
Yeah. I have some knowledge, but I get sick of trying to do some of the stuff.
Yeah.
More engineering minded. Like put me in a car and I can tear it apart and figure it out. And
for me in cars, that's just, I like to tell people that my knowledge of cars, you could write my entire knowledge of fixing cars on a postage stamp and still be legally allowed to mail it. Because it's bad. Like I have no desire to change that. Like I don't I used to do like a lot of small engine repair. Like I understand concepts, but I used to do small engine repair stuff. But I had no desire to do that anymore.
Yeah, small engine and vehicles are way different beasts, though. The basic concept of how the engine works is the same, but they're way different.
If I am betting on something having to work to save my life, I'm not gonna fuck with it. And I have to have a car reliable enough that I can put my kid in it. And if I'm doing massive work on it, then I'm not gonna trust it. Because I don't trust myself that much to do that.
That's why there's people like me.
Yeah, no, I mean that's perfectly fine. That's why, you know, and a lot of times mechanics can be a hit and miss thing, where that's very much you have to kind of trust the person that you're going to for shit. Yeah. And there's certain ways that I have learned to evaluate how I trust mechanics. And one of the big ways is that how often do they try to upsell? Do they just tell you that you need something? Do they show you exactly what they're talking about? Explain, do they break it down and explain it? That kind of stuff. Because then that helps establish a trust factor. And believe it or not, the local Honda dealership here does that. Like, yeah. I took my wife's car in for oil change. And one of the things that was mentioned during the oil change was that she needed a new battery because it was starting to corrode out, and it was originally factory battery. If you had just told me that, I'd be like, okay, but does she really? Or is this just something like, is it just old enough to where it is? He said, hey, come here, take a look at this. And he walked me into the shop, showed me how it was corroding, explained to me what happens when that battery acid starts corroding out, how long it has to be. And he even told me, he goes, look, you could run this until it stops working and then replace it, or we could replace it now before you get to that point.
Yeah.
That little bit of time to do that meant a lot. Because, and it wasn't just for me, they do it too. They do it for everyone, for any extra thing that you didn't bring your car in for. And that to me, I'm like, okay, I'm willing to spend the extra money, because I could probably go buy a battery, swap it out myself for a lot cheaper, or I could just have them do it, and then it gets the wonderful warranties. And I've learned to appreciate warranties.
Yeah. Warranties aren't bad.
Especially labor warranties. Labor warranties are amazing.
Yep.
I mean, I almost... This was a few years ago. Our friend Dude visited the United States. He's from Australia. He came out for an ingress anomaly. And it was in Chicago. So we did the anomaly, and then he was like going to stay an extra 4 or 5 days. So he came and chilled with us. We crashed here. And then I was taking him back to the airport, back to Midway Airport, to fly back out, because he's flying from Midway to wherever to transfer over to go back to Australia. And we're driving, and I had got my brakes replaced like a month prior. I go to get off the freeway in Chicago, and I hit the brakes, and my brakes sank all the way to the floor. I had like no brakes. So we managed to get it stopped because I did the whole downshifting thing and all that. And there was a little bit of brake, but not much. And apparently something happened in the calipers and the brake lines, and it was just spraying brake fluid everywhere. So I towed it to a local shop and, had to pay to get my brakes redone again, which isn't cheap. And my mechanic at the time, because they had a warranty on it, they covered the entire cost of what the other guy had to do.
Yeah.
Because that was part of their warranty. So I was like, well, that alone makes labor warranties so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the mechanic screws something up, then you're covered.
Yep. And that was apparently from what the guy that replaced him or had to do. He pointed out what had happened, and I had him document everything and stuff so that I could get my warranty coverage and stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Cars are an interesting beast.
There's a lot more like maintenance stuff to them than what people think too. I know I mentioned this in one of our chats, but like brake fluid is brake fluid needs to be replaced every so often. I don't remember like how long or how often, but
Yeah.
like that's something you want to like actually flush out because it's a hydraulic fluid and it's getting used, hundreds of times a day, and it actually wears down, it breaks down.
And that's what I
And
appreciate about like going and taking my car back to Honda is that they do those checks. They test everything and they are very upfront about what they're checking, why they're checking, and everything else. So
yeah,
what I'm saying is that if you're in Fort Wayne, you have a Honda, Kelly Honda is not a bad place to take it to because they are really, really professional and really good inside the service center. They have a really good service center.
yeah. A lot of people like to diss on dealerships, but
And I
that's
think
your best bet.
yeah, and I also think that for a long time, dealerships had a really bad reputation of having the most upselling. They tried to upsell everything.
Yeah.
And whether that was an earned reputation or if it was just a couple people got screwed and so then it became the lore, I don't know, but they're really, really good.
When I worked for Ford, when we had a car come in, like for an oil change, okay, we had like the 50-point inspection or whatever. We'd put the car up in the air, and the oil would start draining, and we'd have to check like the brakes, tire pressures. Like there's all these things that we had to check. And what it was, there was two things happening. Yes, we were trying to sell more stuff because that's how we make money. But it's also a cover our ass thing. Like if you come in and get your oil changed and then you leave and you wreck your car because your brakes aren't good and we didn't tell you that, you can sue us. And that was happening a lot. Like, so it just became standard. Like you're in the shop, we're looking at everything, we're putting it on paper. If you don't want it, you have to sign this paper saying your brakes are bad and you're going to leave without getting your brakes changed, Then if you try to sue us, we'll be like, look, no, we told you your brakes weren't good and you left, signed this paper and said you didn't want your brakes done.
Yep.
So
yeah,
that's where
there's a lot of CYA. A lot of good cover your ass stuff that they have to go through, and I get it, and it makes sense to me.
And that's what people used to get pissed at me all the time for doing that, and I'd have to explain that to him like every time. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to cover my own ass here. Like you would want to know if your brakes were bad, right? You would want to know. So I'm just letting you know. Like, hey, you got 40% left. You don't have to do them now. Just think about it in the future. Like, hey, your the treads are pretty low. We don't have them. We don't have them in stock. It might take a month for us to get them or whatever. Maybe go ahead and order them.
Yeah.
They'll get here by the time your tires are wore out.
Well, that's another one, and that's kind of where I'm at now in my life is like I will pay extra for good service than trying to go find the cheapest anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got my SUV, this was, I don't know how many years ago now. I want to say probably close to 7 years ago. When I first got it, I had bought it used and eventually I needed new tires. And the wife had been going to Discount Tires for a really long time. And so I took it in. There was a big problem with it, and it kind of popped, or not popped, but kind of had problems with it. So I took it into Discount Tire because that's where the wife took her car all the time. Because she had an account and because she bought her tires there the last time, they honored, even though it was a different vehicle, the free tire replacement system to fix and do everything for free, even though it was on a different vehicle. But because it was the same account and she'd been with them for so long, they just outright honored it. And that was the moment I went, I'm sticking with these guys pretty much no matter what from here on out, because they did not have to honor a service for another vehicle on a second vehicle that the tires didn't even come from them.
Yeah, that's weird.
And I even brought it up. I was like, you realize that this deal is for her, the car. And they're like, well, this. And they kind of explained it to me. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to complain then. I'll keep my mouth shut. Because I didn't want to screw them over either, because that's just not right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just stuck with them throughout. A lot of other people have had bad experiences or whatever, and I've never had a bad experience. And that's when I also realized that experiences are very unique. Just because one person has a bad experience doesn't mean that's all that they do for everyone. You just might have gotten a guy on a bad day. You might have gotten a general manager who's an absolute trash panda. Like, there's a lot of other reasons why you could have just gotten poor service from something like that.
Yeah, tires are a weird situation too, because there's a lot of there's things like you should always replace them in pairs, which is why I hate doing takeoffs, because you can never get takeoffs in a pair.
Yeah.
That match good enough. And then if you have a vehicle that's all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, you want to do those all four at a time. Because if you have,
because the wear would be more even.
Yeah, if you have your wear more, if you have all four tires wear even, if the tires are worn uneven, like say you got one tire that's almost bald and you have three new tires on a vehicle that's all-wheel drive, your transaxle, which is what's distributing power to all four different wheels, is going to be sending different power to that one wheel, which is going to be hard on the transaxle, which will just tear that up fast. So you don't want to do that. You'll end up tearing up your transaxle and your transmission just from having one tire bad. So don't do that. If you have an all-wheel drive, do all four tires.
When did you rotate tires?
On my personal vehicles, I do it every time I change the oil.
So if you're taking somewhere to get it done, oil changes or whatever, should you do it every time or should you do it every other time?
Do whatever your book recommends.
Okay.
I do it because I can, and it's not an issue for me. I changed my own oil, so I already got the car in the garage and I'm doing it, so I might as well just do all the things.
Yeah, I was trying to think for people listening that may not know what they should do, or even for myself, what I should do. I usually do it every other time.
Yeah, do whatever your owner's manual says. It literally has a list of the best case scenario to keep your car running for 200,000 or more miles.
What? The owner's manual actually has good information?
What? Isn't that crazy?
Wait. I'm while this sounds sarcastic, I'm not used to owner's manual actually giving decent information for stuff. I'm used to electronics owner's manuals, which is just warranty information, electrical systems information, and how to plug it into the wall.
Yeah. You're yeah. That's how electronics treat people. Yeah, I mean your car owner's manual should probably have about the same kind of thing. It'll be like change your oil every 5,000 miles, and it'll actually say like 5,000 miles, change oil, 10,000 miles, change oil, rotate tires, check air filter. You know,
Yeah.
like, and it'll tell you that. Some of them even have a different book, like a maintenance schedule book, and you can mark stuff off that you've actually done and stuff like that.
Interesting. I pretty much,
cool.
because I take it to Honda, I use their suggestions for when to change my oil, because I figured with the type of oil that they use and what, it's their vehicle, they would probably have the most up-to-date information, because oil does change over time as well.
And not as quick as we'd hope.
No, but
I bet you they just do what's in the freaking owner's manual though.
Probably.
They punch it into their computer and it's the same info. Oh, it's this Honda Fit. Got, 48,000 miles on it. Here's the recommended things. And it prints out the list. Here's the recommended things we should do this service.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. It's all a lot more automated now.
As long as it works and I'm not being completely screwed over, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Which I don't think I am, honestly.
Yeah.
I've been to mechanics that have done that in the past, and yeah, there's a reason why I only trust certain groups or certain individuals. After I go there a couple of times, I kind of get a good read on how shifty they're being or acting.
Yeah. When we were trying to get the Cadillac checked out, we went to this guy in Quincy and pulled in. It's like, hey, we got this weird problem. Like, it's like you start hitting the brakes and it wants to shift left and then right, and then the steering's just all sorts of wonky. Like it starts when you're braking, and then when you're taking off, it does more wonky things. It's like when you hit bumps, it'll do kind of the same thing, get wonky and kind of want to like throw you off the road a little bit. He's like, oh, it sounds like brake caliper. And I'm like, no, I went through all the brakes. All the brakes are good. I was like, I've gone through all the brakes. Like calipers are new, struts are new, like brake pads are new, rotors are new. Like most of the steering and suspension's all new. I was like, everything's new up there. Everything's been redone, like over the last 2 years. It's like there's something going on. I can't quite figure it out. It's like it needs to get put up in the air. And he's like, no, it's a brake caliper. Here's a quote. Be $680. He didn't even look it up. He wrote it on an index card. He just wrote $680 on an index card, gave it to me. It's like, it's probably a left front caliper. I was like, he didn't even look at the car. Like, he didn't even look at the car, and you gave me a quote. Like, what in the fuck?
Yeah, that's a highlight of never going there again.
Yeah. I was like, yep, you'll never see me back, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of car do you drive? It's a Honda.
I have a 2020 Honda Fit.
Oh yeah. Oh, I guessed right.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, both the wife and I both drive a Fit now.
Nice.
It's kind of amazing how much room is in those things.
What kind of car did Jesus drive?
Oh no. What?
A Honda. The Bible clearly states we were in one accord.
Right.
What?
That joke. Oh, that brought back memories. very unfortunate memories of, yeah.
Yeah.
There were so many of those bad Bible jokes when I was growing up. It wasn't even funny. And the best part about it is that the people that were telling it unironically because they legitimately thought it was funny.
What was Jesus's other car?
What?
A Chrysler.
Chrysler. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, you know how Jesus said you live by the sword, you die by the sword?
Yeah.
He kind of knew what he was talking about because he was a carpenter and he got nailed to a cross.
Great. Good times.
Very good times. I love how these episodes go. Because we're 40 minutes in, and I had an entire thing I wanted to talk about, and we ended up talking about cars and home repair. So next week we'll talk about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, Mastodon, decentralization, all that stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I get Chris on again next week.
We should ask him because, and to give a small preview. I'm not even gonna do that. I'm just gonna save it all for next week. That's what I'll do. Yeah, let's see if we can get Chris on. No guarantees that we can get him on for next week, but let's see if we can get him on and talk about it. He may not want to talk to me about it because I tend to be slightly opinionated about it. And I think it's starting to annoy him. But we also should have him on soon anyway so he can defend himself over all the slander that we've given him over the last... the slander I've given him over the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
I always know when he listens to the episode because I'll get a ping in the chat.
Yep.
This last one was the best one yet. Listen
here. I about died. I saw it. I popped up and I about died laughing. I was like, you must be listening.
I was laughing so hard I scared the cat. But at least he knows and he understands that it's all in good fun and it's all in love.
Yeah. Sure.
But good news, things around here have stabled back out again.
Okay.
So I will start chopping and editing. I had done, to give everyone an update, I had done the Christmas episode because it was the most filled with shit. And then I figured out that TikTok has, how shall we say, some massive limitations compared to every other place out there. So then I was trying to... It just
doesn't do AV1 yet. So.
Then I was trying to redo everything, and it was having problems. And then during the process of taking down, re-uploading, at some point, and this is all on me, I deleted everything and realized it afterward. So now I have to just go back through rescrub and recut. But I also think some of them would not have made very good because I was cutting them way too short. Because I was looking at them again as I was going through, and I'm like, you know what? 2 or 3 seconds is a little too short for TikToks.
Yeah, that's a little too short.
Because I was just trying to keep just the jokes isolated. So for ones that there's no context between them, especially on the Christmas episode, because there was just a lot of we're talking about something and energetic to joke. What I might do on those that are way short like that is I might make like a collage of 4 or 5 of them together.
times where you thought we were talking about something, but I was just
Dude,
making
I'm
jokes.
gonna cut that whole thing out and separate it out because that was because I was like, "Is this a joke?" And you blast me for it, and then you asked something later on, and I thought it was a joke, and you were being serious.
You were so done with me that whole episode. So like 15 seconds in, you're like, fucking Christ, just make it end.
It was fun though. I'm glad we did that way. Oh man.
Dude, speaking of which, let's talk to Chris and get him in.
Let's talk to Chris and get him in because I want to talk about this stuff because I have thoughts. And I'll even tell him that I'm not going to go all attacky with my thoughts.
I'm going to tell you that I still think IRC is the best social media there ever was.
No, I know. And that's part of what I'm going to talk about. We've regressed back to Web 1 under the guise of Web 3.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care.
I don't like taking steps backwards. There were good, legitimate reasons why we left Web 1 behind.
Yeah, but now we're in Web 2 and we're like, this is crap.
So let's move forward to Web 3 instead of regressing back to Web 1.
Let's go back to Web 1 and find the other Web 2. Let's go find Web 2.B.
Well, but not all of Web 2 was bad. I mean, Web 2 gave us... I mean, okay, maybe WordPress isn't the best example of this. But it is happen what we use to propagate out our podcast system. So
I was gonna say, don't bash what we use for our podcast system.
But that's because of Web 2 and a centralized system.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to upload all these things on a completely decentralized system?
Well, it is personally hosted though, so it's also decentralized.
Yes, because we do our own hosting that way. Well, yeah. Sort of. It's quasi personally hosted.
Yeah, it's personally hosted on a rental server.
Yeah, you're renting a server somewhere else.
I'm not Hillary. I don't need a server in my bedroom.
I remember the days where, and we're going to talk about this more next week, but I remember the days where I wanted to play LAN with a friend of mine, and there was no centralized server to do that over the internet. And back in those days with dial-up, if someone like a computer were to call and you pick up and you hang up, it wouldn't disconnect the call right off the bat. So what we would end up having to do was do that trick with phones to get the computer to pick up so you could trick the computer into accepting a call, and then it would treat it as a LAN.
Yeah. I remember doing that, playing
because one person had to do that. I had the nifty little attachment to my modem where I could just set the handset down on it, and it would treat through that way, which was fun. But that was really old school. And then I finally upgraded to, I was the first one in my friends group to have a 56K modem. Then everybody was at my house for internet. At the time was AOL, but still internet. Dude,
back when we didn't know the difference between AOL and internet.
Well, at the time there wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
same as our parents don't know the difference between Wi-Fi and internet.
Mm-hmm. And I've just stopped correcting.
Yeah, I explained that to my mom the other day. She was like, "Well, why do I not get Wi-Fi outside of the house?" I was like, "Well, Wi-Fi is the inside the house connection, and then internet is the outside the house connection." Huh?
Yeah.
It's like, It's like Wi-Fi is
at
what
some point
connects
you just
everything
go,
in the house, and the internet connects your Wi-Fi to the internet. Oh, and I could tell like she said "oh" even though she didn't understand, but I think the "oh" was just like, I'm done with this conversation now. Thank you.
Oh, the amount of conversations I've had that are that way, where it's just like you can tell that you're going too long because their eyes start glazing over.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to be supportive and attentive and listen, but you can tell that their heart just suddenly is not into it.
She asked the question, and I tried to answer it in a dumbed down manner so she could understand. And she was just like, okay, I asked this question and I didn't mean to. I was like, you're getting a fucking answer, Mom. You asked the question. I'm going to clear it up for you. Okay? Fuck.
Yup.
I call you sometimes for some questions and you take 30 minutes to tell me that I should have probably only had the pan on low and not medium low. Okay? 45 minutes later, I've heard about how your workday was and I still don't know what the hell happened to the pan.
Yeah. But at least you get to still do that. So
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, my brother got me this enameled cast iron Dutch oven. I've been using a lot, kind of as a replacement for one of my bigger pots.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did a dumb and I got online and I was like, I wonder if I could replace my other saucepans and stuff with some enameled cast iron because this is actually really nice. Oh boy. Like there's some really nice cast iron stuff and it gets super expensive super fast.
Yeah.
Like there's Lodge, which has been around forever. I remember I think they started in like the 1850s or something, and they're made in Tennessee using like all the same foundries and stuff they've been using forever, but their quality is pretty good. They're pretty awesome, but they didn't have like the sizes I wanted, and most of my stuff is Lodge.
Yeah.
Like the Dutch oven and a couple of my skillets are Lodge, and I was looking at a Lodge like a grill combo that flips. It's like one side's a griddle and the other side's a grill.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at one of those. But then I got on their site, they had Dutch ovens that went down to like 1.5 quart, which is a pretty small size pot, but it didn't have a handle. So then it's like, well, I wonder, somebody's got to be making, actual sauce pot style enameled cast irons. I found La Creuset, which is a French cast iron company that makes proper enameled cast iron saucepans with like a pour spout and the whole deal, and cast iron lid with a gold handle because you can put the whole thing in the oven, whereas like with a stainless steel one you can only put into an oven up to like 500 degrees, but a gold one you can put in up to like 900 or something. And the saucepan was like $250. Like, who boy.
My cousin has started doing forgery stuff, and he's doing a lot of knives. I wonder if he works at all with cast iron. If he could make me, if he could even do that, or if that's something that has to get poured.
Yeah, that's a poor thing. It's not something you like.
Because that would be very
hammer.
Interesting to do is to pour your own and build your own cast iron stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. But then I'm sure those molds are even more expensive than just buying it.
Well, they're
that would
sand.
be something that I think would just be insanely expensive.
They do sand, and if I remember right, they make like a foam brick, and then they put that in the sand, and then they compact the sand around it.
Yeah, and then they pour it in. It burns and evaporates out the foam.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then
Because then you're left with a seamless cast.
Yep.
Yeah, I've done a little bit of casting stuff, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
It was just we were messing around with aluminum cans and playing around with casts and stuff. As one does when you're just building an outside forge with a hair dryer and a hose and a bucket and
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. It was really cool, but
Yeah.
it was definitely not. It's definitely not safe for work. I'll put it that way. But then again, we were like 18, 19. So
Nice.
the stupid shit you do when you're that age.
Yep.
The stuff that I'm trying to not tell the kids about too much because I don't want them doing it. Oh well.
Yep.
All right, Brian. Well, we will get into web stuff either with Chris or without Chris. We'll do web stuff next week.
Yep.
I hope everybody's has a great 2023 so far.
Yeah.
And if you're anywhere where these stupid storms are at, please just keep your heads up and out. Whether you're getting nailed by water in the West Coast, you're getting nailed by tornadoes down south, or snow and other areas, just be careful out there.
Yeah.
That's all I'd ask.
Yeah.
But
how are you going to listen to us next week if you're not careful?
Exactly. We need that click-through rate. All right, Brian, we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Later.
Later.